When you stop trying to be heard by everyone, you start hearing what truly matters. When you stop fighting for attention, you begin to attract peace. Many of us live in a noisy world, but the greatest strength is not in how loud you can speak. It is in how deep you can be when you are silent. When you learn to focus on yourself and stay silent, you will realize that most of the battles you thought you needed to fight were never yours to begin with. You see, life is not about proving anything to anyone. The moment you begin to live to prove, you begin to lose purpose. The people who misunderstand you today will still misunderstand you tomorrow because it is not their job to understand your process. It is your job to protect your peace. Some of you are tired because you have been trying to explain your growth to people who are not meant to walk your journey. You talk and they twist your words. You try to justify your silence and they call you proud. You try to explain your pain and they call you weak. My brother, my sister, focus on yourself and stay silent. Your silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. There are moments when God hides you, not because you are forgotten, but because He is forming you. You may look quiet on the outside, but inside there is a transformation taking place. The seed under the ground does not make noise, yet it is growing. The caterpillar in the cocoon does not cry out, yet wings are forming. You are not behind, you are being prepared. But if you open your mouth before your time, you may abort what heaven is building inside you. The reason many people do not grow is because they speak too early. They talk about what they are planning before it even takes shape. And when they see no results, they get discouraged. Sometimes, the best way to protect your dream is to keep it between you and God. Silence does not mean you are doing nothing. Silence means you are doing it with discipline. When you focus on yourself, you conserve the energy that gossip and arguments would have wasted. You channel that energy into your goals, into your healing, into your prayer. Many of you have lost your peace because you are busy watching others. You compare your life to people who are not even running your race. You look left and right, but never look within. That is why you are restless. Tell your neighbor, stop looking around, look within. Your breakthrough is not in the crowd, it is in your quiet. Every time you focus on yourself, you are investing in your destiny. Every time you stay silent, you are protecting your spirit from contamination. There are people who will talk about you, whether you speak or not. If you do good, they will talk. If you do bad, they will talk. If you succeed, they will talk. If you fail, they will talk. So why waste your peace trying to correct their opinion? The truth is, no one can define you unless you give them permission. If they misunderstand you, let them. If they ignore you, let them. Because when the time is right, your fruits will speak louder than your words. The tree does not announce its fruit, it simply grows and the fruit becomes visible. Focus on yourself. Focus on becoming better, not bitter. Focus on being deeper, not louder. When you are working on yourself, you are already answering your critics without saying a word. Your discipline is your response. Your growth is your reply. Your peace is your victory. When you walk silently through the storm, people may not see what you are carrying, but God sees. The danger of always speaking is that you expose what should be hidden. The more you talk, the more you give away the mystery of your journey. And the enemy cannot attack what he cannot see. That is why silence is your protection. Some of you have been wondering why certain people suddenly changed toward you. It is because they knew too much about what you were carrying. You told them your next move, and they became a hindrance. Next time, learn to stay quiet. Not everyone deserves to hear your process. Some only celebrate your silence because they cannot handle your progress. There are seasons when God will separate you from noise. He will remove people who drain your energy. You will start losing interest in things that used to excite you. You may feel lonely, but that loneliness is divine surgery. God is detoxing your life. He is resetting your focus. He is teaching you that peace is more valuable than attention. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see how much you have neglected your own soul. You have been busy pleasing people who will never be pleased. You have been giving time to people who never deserved access. And now God is saying, be still. Stillness is not inactivity, it is inner clarity. When you are still, you hear the whisper of purpose. When you are still, you realize that your value is not in how visible you are, but in how faithful you are. You may not be in the spotlight, but heaven sees your consistency. You may not be applauded by men, but you are approved by God. Sometimes you have to let people think whatever they want. If you try to explain every action, you will lose your focus. Stay silent and keep building. Stay silent and keep praying. Stay silent and keep forgiving. Your silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. When a lion is silent, it is not weak, it is watching. When an eagle is quiet, it is not asleep. It is soaring above the noise. Be wise enough to know when to speak and when to stay silent. There are battles that are not won by arguments, but by patience. Many of you are fighting invisible wars, emotional exhaustion, mental distraction, spiritual battles. You don't need everyone to understand that. Just stay silent and focus on your healing. There is a kind of strength that only grows in solitude. There is a kind of wisdom that only comes when you stop explaining yourself and start observing. Every season of silence carries a lesson, and those who rush to speak miss the teaching. You cannot hear divine direction in a crowded heart. Silence is the language of the Spirit. It is in silence that God corrects refines, and rebuilds you. But we live in a world that rewards noise. Everyone wants to post, to reply, to defend, to prove. Yet the greatest victories happen behind closed doors. The person who learns to sit in silence becomes dangerous in destiny. The more you focus on yourself, the more you realize that not every invitation deserves your attendance. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your response. When you are growing, you don't have time to argue. When you are healing, you don't have time to gossip. When you are focused, you don't have time to explain. Silence becomes your boundary. Focus becomes your direction. Some of you need to learn how to disappear for a while. Not because you are defeated, but because you are developing. The world honors results, not announcements. Stop announcing your process. Let your results introduce you. While others are making noise, you are making progress. When your fruit appears, your silence will make sense. There will be times when people think you are distant. Let them think so. You are not distant, you are disciplined. You are not cold, you are concentrated. You are not ignoring them, you are investing in yourself. Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lift others if you are sinking within. Focus on your foundation. Silence is the cement of stability. If you want to be strong, learn to be quiet. If you want to be wise, learn to listen. If you want to be peaceful, learn to withdraw. The more you focus inwardly, the clearer your outward vision becomes. The noise of the crowd will always try to drown your calling, but silence will tune you back to heaven's frequency. There are some answers you will never hear until you stop talking. The reason silence feels uncomfortable is because it exposes your inner state. When you are alone and quiet, you meet yourself. You see your fears, your wounds, your motives. That is where real transformation begins, not in noise, but in stillness. When you learn to sit with yourself, you stop running from truth. You begin to understand what really matters. And then you realize how much time you have wasted explaining yourself to those who never cared. You cannot live purposefully and be addicted to attention. Attention is a drug that destroys focus. The more you seek validation, the more you lose direction. Silence detoxes you from that addiction. It helps you to remember that your value is not in how many people are watching, but in how faithful you are becoming. When you are focused on yourself, you will start noticing that peace feels better than proving. Growth feels better than gossip. Healing feels better than hatred. Progress feels better than popularity. You will stop needing to respond to everything. You will start letting time answer for you. Because time is the loudest voice of all. The seed that grows quietly today becomes the tree everyone runs to tomorrow. Don't despise your quiet season. Don't curse your silence. God hides greatness in quietness. The deeper the root, the stronger the fruit. If you are silent today, it is because God is building something that cannot be shaken tomorrow. You see, the world claps for noise, but heaven rewards depth. The deeper your roots, the calmer your storms. The deeper your focus, the stronger your peace. When you stop reacting to everything, you take back your power. Silence is not submission, it is self-control. It is the sign of maturity. Anyone can shout, few can stay still. Anyone can argue, few can wait. If you truly want to grow, learn to close your mouth when your emotions are loud. Anger speaks too quickly. Silence gives wisdom a chance to answer. Every time you respond in silence, you are choosing peace over pride. You are saying, I value my growth more than being right. That is how champions are formed. Not in applause, but in restraint. Focus on yourself. Focus on your peace. Focus on your purpose. Don't chase noise. Chase clarity. You will be surprised how powerful you become when you stop explaining yourself. People will try to pull you into their confusion. But you must stay still in your conviction. Some storms are designed to distract you. Silence keeps you anchored. If you are in a silent season right now, do not panic. Heaven does its best work in hidden places. The diamond is formed under pressure, not in the open. The anointing grows in obscurity, not on the stage. When nothing seems to be happening, that is when the most is happening. You may not see it yet, but silence is shaping you. Stay quiet when they mock you. Stay quiet when they misunderstand you. Stay quiet when they doubt you, because silence has a voice, and that voice speaks in results. People who once doubted you will one day ask how you did it, and you will smile, because you will remember that you did not argue, you focused. When you keep your eyes on yourself, you stop being distracted by other people's speed. Some will run faster, others slower, but your race is your race. Silence teaches you patience. Silence reminds you that timing is divine. The one who learns to wait in silence never misses their moment. Let your silence be prayer. Let your focus be worship. Let your peace be your testimony. Every time you refuse to respond to negativity, you are sowing into your own stability. Every time you walk away from gossip, you are building inner strength. Every time you choose quietness over chaos, you are honoring your destiny. In silence, God refines your motives. In focus, He renews your strength. When you are not busy reacting, He begins to reveal. When you are not distracted by noise, you begin to see direction. The blessing you are asking for may already be around you, but you cannot see it because your mind is too noisy. Silence clears the fog. Focus opens the eyes. Remember, destiny is personal. It is not a group project. Everyone's journey has its own timing. Don't rush yours, because others are loud about theirs. Some people are announcing what they do not even possess yet. They are speaking of success they have not sustained. But when your time comes, you will not need to speak. Your results will echo louder than their words. Stay consistent in silence. Keep building, keep praying, keep improving. Let them wonder where you went. Let them see where you rise. The same people who called you quiet will one day call you wise. Because silence reveals those who are serious, and noise exposes those who are shallow. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you are not running from the world. You are rising above it. The higher you climb, the quieter it becomes. Airplanes make the most noise on the runway, but in the sky, they glide silently. You too must learn to ascend above the noise. So focus on yourself. Stay silent. Keep walking in purpose. Keep growing in peace. Your silence today is the soil for your greatness tomorrow. And when the time comes, the world will not just hear your words. They will feel the power of the silence that built them. The deeper the silence, the stronger the transformation. When everything around you becomes loud, when every direction seems filled with opinions, distractions, and noise, there comes a sacred moment when you are called to withdraw into silence. Not the kind of silence that is forced by fear or weakness, but the kind that is chosen with intention. The silence of strength. The silence where transformation begins. Because silence is not emptiness, it is fullness unspoken. It is the atmosphere where God reshapes your heart, your thoughts, your destiny. When life becomes too crowded, silence becomes your sanctuary. You see, silence is not the absence of words. It is the presence of awareness. It is the environment where your spirit begins to breathe again. Many people fear silence because they cannot stand to hear themselves think. They are afraid of what might rise from within when everything external fades away. But transformation requires you to face what you have been running from. You cannot heal from what you keep distracting yourself from. The deeper the silence, the more you meet yourself, the real you, not the one you perform, not the one you show the world, but the you that wrestles with truth in the dark. There is a kind of strength that cannot be developed in noise. Noise feeds ego, but silence feeds spirit. Noise attracts attention, but silence attracts revelation. In noise, you hear people. In silence, you hear purpose. The reason some people never change is because they never stop talking long enough to listen. The voice of transformation is quiet. It whispers in the secret place. It waits for you to be still. You can attend 1,000 teachings, read 1,000 books, and still remain the same until you learn to sit alone and listen. The deeper the silence, the more you see that change is not an event, but a process. It is not sudden, it is slow, gentle, and internal. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly overnight. There is a cocoon, and that cocoon is silence. Inside that stillness, everything changes. The caterpillar does not fight it, it submits. It stops moving, stops striving, stops proving. It allows the process to work on it. That is transformation, not through effort, but through surrender. You too must enter your cocoon of silence. It may look like isolation, but it is incubation. What feels like separation is actually preparation. Silence strips away the unnecessary. It removes the layers of noise that keep you blind to who you truly are. When you are quiet, you begin to notice your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns. You begin to see where you have been lying to yourself. Silence exposes what noise hides. It shows you the truth behind your intentions. It reveals the wounds you have ignored. And in that painful honesty, real growth begins. The reason silence feels uncomfortable is because it takes away your distractions. When you are alone with yourself, you realize how much of your energy was being spent trying to impress, trying to prove, trying to escape. But silence does not let you escape. It holds you still until you see clearly. It is in that stillness that transformation becomes possible, because you cannot change what you will not confront. The deeper the silence, the more your perspective changes. You begin to see that life is not about reacting to everything. You do not have to respond to every voice, every message, every criticism. You do not need to defend what is divine. Silence teaches you trust. Trust in timing, trust in process, trust in God. When you stop talking, you start observing. When you start observing, you start understanding, and understanding gives birth to peace. Transformation requires peace. Change cannot happen in chaos. Just as the seed cannot grow in constant movement, you cannot grow if your mind is restless. The soil must be still for the seed to take root. The same is true for your spirit. If you are always explaining, defending, reacting, you are too distracted to receive instruction. Silence grounds you. It anchors your soul. It reconnects you to your source. Many people want transformation without solitude. They want wisdom without stillness. They want clarity while living in confusion. But wisdom is born in silence. Clarity is born in stillness. The deeper your silence, the clearer your vision becomes. You stop seeing through the eyes of fear and start seeing through the eyes of faith. You begin to sense divine direction, divine correction, divine timing. Because in silence, heaven speaks. Transformation does not come from speaking. It comes from listening. It comes from surrender. You cannot force transformation, you can only allow it. When you stop trying to control the outcome, silence becomes your teacher. It begins to reveal what is real and what is not. It shows you which parts of you are strong and which parts need healing. It is in silence that you realize strength is not always loud. Sometimes, strength is in choosing not to respond. The deeper the silence, the more you learn patience. Patience is not waiting without movement. It is trusting without anxiety. When you are truly silent, you stop rushing the process. You begin to understand that divine timing cannot be manipulated. The seed will grow when the season is right. You stop forcing doors open. You stop begging for validation. You stop explaining your journey. Because you understand that silence is your protection and time will speak on your behalf. Silence builds depth. Noise builds distraction. The deeper you go in silence, the more you realize that external approval means nothing if you have no inner peace. You learn that being unseen does not mean you are unvalued. The tree grows in silence before it bears fruit in public. Every great transformation begins in hiddenness. God always works in silence before he reveals in glory. When you are silent, you begin to hear what you never noticed before. The quiet voice of your intuition, the inner nudge of your conscience, the whisper of divine wisdom. You realize that not every loss is a loss, not every delay is a denial, not every silence is rejection. Sometimes God closes the mouths of others so you can learn to listen to him. Sometimes he hides your next step so you can trust him instead of your plans. The deeper the silence, the stronger the transformation, because silence humbles you. It reminds you that you are not in control. It reminds you that power does not always need to shout. It reminds you that faith does not argue, it stands still. When you are quiet before God, you are saying, I trust you more than I trust my explanations. That trust opens the door for transformation. Transformation through silence changes your reactions. You stop fighting small battles. You stop wasting words. You begin to conserve your energy for what matters. You stop being offended easily. You stop living for the opinions of others. Silence trains you to hear beyond words, to discern motives, to sense truth. You begin to see that maturity is not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. The deeper the silence, the more powerful your actions become. When you no longer need to announce your every move, your moves gain weight. When you no longer need to be seen, your presence gains value. Silence makes your voice carry authority when you finally speak. It gives power to your words because they are born from depth, not from reaction. People who live in noise speak from impulse. People who live in silence speak from revelation. You cannot have transformation without the discipline of silence. It is through silence that discipline grows. Every time you choose not to react, you grow stronger. Every time you choose not to defend, you grow wiser. Every time you choose to wait instead of rush, you grow deeper. Silence is the gym of the spirit. It strengthens your patience, your discernment, your humility. The reason many people remain shallow is because they never go deep enough into silence. They keep scratching the surface with words, opinions, and complaints. But depth requires quietness. Transformation requires depth. You cannot change your roots if you are always focused on your branches. Silence takes you beneath the surface. It shows you why you do what you do. It exposes your fears, your pride, your pain. And once you see them, you can heal them. The deeper the silence, the more you begin to value peace over popularity. You begin to choose calm over chaos. You begin to understand that your strength is not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. You stop reacting to insults, stop replying to gossip, stop seeking validation. Because your silence becomes your shield, you realize that peace is more expensive than praise. Transformation in silence also changes how you relate to people. You become more observant, more patient, more compassionate. You listen to understand, not to respond. You speak less, but mean more. You start noticing things you missed before. Small details, hidden motives, divine timing. You stop rushing relationships. You stop forcing conversations. Silence teaches you to honor the rhythm of life. In silence, gratitude grows. You begin to appreciate what once seemed ordinary. You realize that the quiet moments, the sunrise, the breath, the stillness, are not interruptions. They are invitations to awareness. Transformation is not always about changing your circumstances. Sometimes it is about changing how you see them. Silence trains your eyes to see miracles in the mundane. The deeper the silence, the more resilient you become. Because silence toughens your spirit. It prepares you for storms. It teaches you how to remain calm when everything around you is chaotic. The person who has trained in silence does not panic in noise. They have mastered stillness in the storm. Transformation is not about never facing noise again. It is about being unshaken by it. When you are truly silent, your senses awaken. You feel the presence of God more deeply. You begin to sense when to move, when to wait, when to speak. Silence aligns you with divine rhythm. It teaches you timing. It shows you that not every opportunity is divine, and not every delay is demonic. Sometimes the silence is protection. Sometimes it is direction. The deeper the silence, the more clearly you hear your purpose. You stop chasing every distraction. You stop trying to fit in. You stop being moved by trends, because you finally understand that your journey is unique. You are not meant to sound like everyone else, move like everyone else, or grow like everyone else. Silence removes comparison. It brings you back to authenticity. Transformation in silence also teaches you gratitude for solitude. You stop fearing being alone. You start enjoying your own company. You begin to see that solitude is not isolation. It is elevation. It is the place where ideas are born, where healing happens, where identity strengthens. Great minds have always valued solitude because that is where they meet God and themselves. The deeper the silence, the greater your understanding of peace. You realize that peace is not found in perfect circumstances. It is found in inner alignment. You stop waiting for the world to calm down before you find calm. You learn to carry calm within you. Even when the world is on fire, silence gives you that power. It roots you so deeply that chaos cannot uproot you. You cannot fake silence. It will always reveal who you are. If you are restless inside, silence will expose it. If you are bitter, silence will confront it. If you are at peace, silence will deepen it. That is why silence is sacred. It never lies. It mirrors your soul back to you. And once you see the reflection clearly, transformation becomes inevitable. The deeper the silence, the more humble you become, because you realize how much you don't know, how much you can't control, and how much you need grace. Silence teaches you reverence. It softens your heart. It refines your ego. It reminds you that power is not in shouting but in surrender. The quietest hearts often carry the loudest light. When you go deep enough into silence, you stop fighting battles that are not yours. You stop explaining your process. You stop defending your growth. Because silence reveals who is meant to walk with you and who is not. It separates noise from necessity. It teaches you that not every departure is a loss. Some are divine realignments. The deeper the silence, the more creative you become. Because silence awakens imagination. It allows inspiration to flow. Many great ideas are born in quiet rooms. The mind cannot create when it is crowded with noise. Silence gives space for divine ideas to enter. The best songs, inventions, revelations, all were born in moments of stillness. Silence transforms your priorities. What once seemed urgent becomes irrelevant. What once seemed meaningless becomes sacred. You start choosing peace over pleasure, depth over drama, stillness over stimulation. Transformation makes you sensitive to what truly matters. You begin to see that simplicity is not lack. It is freedom. And the deeper your silence, the stronger you become, because you no longer depend on the outside to sustain your inside. Your strength comes from stillness. Your energy comes from peace. Your direction comes from quiet confidence. You move differently, you think differently, you live differently. Silence becomes your weapon, your wisdom, your way of life.